In the wake of the devastating attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, America found itself reeling from the shock of war. The need for a bold response was urgent, and as the months passed, morale was at a low point. President Franklin Roosevelt and military leaders knew that something needed to be done to demonstrate American resolve and to send a clear message to Japan. This is where the story of the Doolittle Raid begins. In early 1942, Lieutenant Colonel James Doolittle, a decorated pilot with a reputation for innovation and daring, was called upon for a unique mission. Doolittle was known not just for his flying skills, but also for his ability to think outside the box. He had been working on a plan to launch a bombing raid on Japan using B-25 bombers from an aircraft carrier. This was a risky proposition. Bombers of this type had never before been launched from a ship, and the mission would require meticulous planning and execution. The mission was given the green light, and 80 volunteers from the Army Air Forces stepped forward to join Doolittle. These men were aware that the mission was fraught with peril, but they were motivated by a desire to strike back at the Japanese after Pearl Harbor. They were briefed on the challenges ahead, which included launching from the US Hornet and flying a long distance to reach their targets in Japan. Each airman knew that once they took off, there would be no turning back. On April 2, 1942, the US Hornet departed from San Francisco with the B-25 bombers secured on its deck. The airmen prepared for the mission, training intensely during the voyage. They practiced low-level flying and bomb delivery techniques, honing their skills in anticipation of the challenges they would face. Doolittle, ever the inspirational leader, spent time with his men, instilling in them a sense of purpose and determination. As the Hornet approached Japan, the men's nerves were palpable. They knew they were undertaking an unprecedented mission, one that could have dire consequences. On April 18, the Hornet and its crew were detected by Japanese patrol boats, which forced Doolittle to make a critical decision: launch the bombers early, despite being farther from the Japanese coast than planned. This decision would stretch their fuel reserves and make the already dangerous mission even more perilous. One by one, the B-25 bombers were launched from the deck of the Hornet. Each aircraft roared into the air, defying the odds of launching from such a short runway. Doolittle flew the lead plane, determined to demonstrate American resolve and skill. As they soared over the Pacific, the men felt the weight of their mission pressing upon them, the knowledge that they were entering enemy territory. Upon reaching Tokyo, the airmen found themselves amidst a flurry of anti-aircraft fire. Despite the dangers, they pressed on, dropping their bombs on key industrial and military targets. They hit factories, fuel depots, and military installations, sowing chaos and confusion in the city below. As they made their escape, the sound of explosions echoed through the streets of Tokyo, a stark reminder that the war had come home to Japan. However, the return journey was fraught with challenges. Many of the bombers had low fuel reserves, and they knew they might not reach the safety of Chinese territory. The mission had been a success in terms of delivering their payload, but now they faced the harsh reality of navigating back home. One by one, the crews had to make difficult decisions. Some landed in the rugged terrain of China, while others bailed out over hostile regions. The crash landings were chaotic. In one instance, a crew found themselves in a rice paddy, where they were met by wary local villagers. These villagers, aware of the conflict but caught in the middle, provided the airmen with shelter and assistance. Others faced danger from Japanese patrols who were hunting for the downed airmen. In their effort to evade capture, some men trekked through the countryside, relying on their training and instincts to navigate through unfamiliar terrain. As news of the raid spread, it caused shockwaves in Japan. Although the physical damage was limited, the psychological impact was immense. The Japanese people and military were stunned that their homeland had been attacked, shattering their sense of invulnerability. In America, the response was one of pride and renewed determination. The Doolittle Raid had boosted morale, proving that the United States could strike back and that the war was far from over. Back in the United States, the Doolittle Raiders were hailed as heroes. Doolittle received the Medal of Honor for his leadership and bravery, while his men were celebrated for their daring mission. The raid became a symbol of American resilience, a testament to the courage of those who faced overwhelming odds. Despite the risks they took, the mission had accomplished its goals, serving as a rallying cry for a nation at war. Years later, the legacy of the Doolittle Raid would continue to resonate. It demonstrated not only the bravery of the men involved, but also the spirit of innovation and determination that defined the American approach to the war. The mission would be studied in military history as a turning point, illustrating the importance of courage, teamwork, and the willingness to take risks in the face of adversity. In conclusion, the Doolittle Raid stands as a remarkable chapter in World War II history. It highlights the bravery of ordinary men who rose to the occasion in extraordinary circumstances, embodying the relentless American spirit. Their mission was more than just a military operation. It was a symbol of hope and resilience that would inspire future generations. The Doolittle Raiders will forever be remembered for their courage, sacrifice, and the message they sent to the world that America would not be cowed and that they would fight back with everything they had.